Hey there, welcome back. All right, in this module, we're going to learn all about the fishbone diagram. Well, specifically by the end of this module, you'll know the history of this popular tool as well as how to create one. And you'll also learn a powerful root cause selection technique called N/3. So let's get started by learning a bit about the history of the tool we call the fishbone diagram. Well, the fishbone diagram was first developed by Mr. Kaoru Ishikawa in the 1960s, which is why you'll often hear this tool referred to as the Ishikawa diagram. And you also hear this tool referred to as a cause and effect diagram. But due to its unique appearance, most simply refer to this tool as the fishbone diagram. Now, I'd also like to point out that Mr. Ishikawa's greatest contribution to the world of continuous improvement was his definition of the 7 quality management tools, several of which we've already learned about. Namely, the fishbone diagram, the histogram, the Pareto chart, the check sheet, the control chart, the flow chart, and the scatter diagram. And while Mr. Ishikawa didn't invent all of these tools, he was the first person to use them all together in order to solve problems. And while people like Taiichi Ohno and Shigeo Shingo are often credited with the formation of lean thinking, we should also include Mr. Ishikawa's name to this list, as his contributions were immense. Okay, so that's a bit of the history behind this tool. Now let's turn our attention towards how to create one. And let me start by explaining that there are a number of different ways to complete a fishbone. As such, I'd encourage you to experiment and find the approach that works best for you. But to get you started, I'd like to share a roadmap we'd encourage you to begin with. First, you'll want to get your cross-functional team into the same room while also gathering all the supplies needed. Now, in this teaching lesson, I'm using the Sigma Excel software tool to keep things neat and easy to read in these training videos. With this said, I'd like to strongly encourage you to not use software right away. Instead, using some butcher's paper spread across the wall or a whiteboard with some large-sized post-it notes, as shown in this example, are excellent ways to construct fishbone diagrams, especially when working with a large group of people. Then, in the end, if you'd like to create and save an electronic copy of your fishbone, software like Sigma Excel can be used. Or you can simply snap a picture of your fishbone and file that away. Alright, well, once you and your team are ready to start, the first step is to write the main problem or problem statement being focused on the right side of the diagram while also drawing a box around it. We then draw a long horizontal line and arrow off of this box representing the spine of the fish. Now in this example, the problem we're dealing with is late pizza deliveries on the weekends. After this, we're ready to draw into major cause categories. Again, there are no right or wrong major cause categories. However, a good place to start are the 4 to 6 M's we learned about in our previous module. Now, if you're dealing with more of a service-related problem, you might try the 6 P's, which stand for people, process, policies, procedures, price, and product. And again, please feel free to make the fishbone work for you and your company, meaning it's okay if your major cause categories are different from the ones we've discussed. But whatever major cause categories you decide on, you'll want to draw a box around them as shown here. Now, at this point, it's time for you and your team to get busy as you develop a list of factors that could be causing or contributing to the problem. Again, there are many ways to go about this. One way I personally find effective is to hand out the same colored post-it notes and pencils to all team members. I then ask the question, what's causing this problem? I then give everyone 3 to 5 minutes to write down as many ideas as they can on their post-it notes, which is sometimes referred to as the nominal group technique. Now, after 3 to 5 minutes, I ask everyone to place their pencils down. I then go around and ask each person to share their results by reading them aloud. And as they read aloud their post-it notes, the team agrees where it should be placed on the fishbone. And if it looks like a cause fits on more than one category, that's okay. We create a duplicate and place it in both places. Now, in our late pizza delivery example, the team has come up with several potential causes for the problem. For example, we see that employees often waste time searching for materials, as well as the fact that they run out of ingredients from time to time. Additionally, the fact that pizza delivery drivers get lost from time to time and employees are often absent from work is also contributing to the problem. Now, please keep in mind that when you and your team create your fishbone diagrams, you'll likely have many more causes than we're showing in this simple example. Now, once this initial brainstorming process is complete, the discussion the team has had will usually drum up additional ideas. So, I let the team write down additional causes on their post-it notes, followed by the same process of reading them aloud and placing them on the fishbone accordingly. Now, you can actually repeat this process as many times as you need until it seems your team is out of ideas. Now, the next step of the process is to create the second level of causes. Now, to do this, we go through each post-it note and ask, why does this happen? Now, in many cases, we'll need to ask why several times. And I normally suggest stopping at around 5 whys or until the cause is controlled by more than one management level away from the existing team members. Now, another excellent technique is to stack different colored post-it notes for the second level causes on top of the primary causes. Now, in our late pizza delivery example, the team has asked why drivers are getting lost, to which the first cause was the drivers don't know the area. Why don't they know the area? Because of lack of training. So, in this case, the team has identified something they can definitely take action on, namely, to ensure drivers are trained and familiar with the areas they're asked to deliver to. Now, if we look at another example of this fishbone, we see that one of the causes of car breakdowns is that drivers have unreliable cars. And why does this happen? Because drivers are not required to have reliable cars. So, once again, this root cause could be acted on by simply requiring all drivers to have reliable and maintained cars as a requirement of their employment. And one final example. One of the primary causes of late pizza deliveries is the fact that they often run out of ingredients. Why do they run out of ingredients? Because they didn't reorder in time. Why is this? Because there are no reordering points identified. So, as we see here, causes begin to branch off as we learn more and more about the problem at hand. Now, once this process is complete, we'll have identified numerous root causes, possibly too many to attack at once. So, at this point, the team will need to select the root causes they wish to initially focus on. And as you've probably guessed, there are a number of ways to facilitate this process. But one method that we found to be particularly effective is to seek out root causes that may be similar and group them together. Now, in our late pizza delivery example, we see that lack of training, albeit in different things, has come up several times. Now, you should also use the same priority setting questions we learned about in our earlier modules by assessing each root cause's level of importance, urgency, and potential for expansion. Also, depending on team dynamics, you can use a powerful technique called N/3. Now, to do N/3, you simply count up the number of root causes identified and divide that number by 3. Well, in our late pizza delivery example, we identified 9 root causes, which has been written down on large post-it notes. Therefore, in this simple example, N is equal to 9. So, when N, or 9, is divided by 3, we get 3. This means each team member is allowed 3 votes. To vote for a particular root cause, team members can place a different colored dot in the corner of that post-it note. So, in this example, 5 people had 3 votes apiece. And, as it turned out, 4 root causes clearly stood out from the rest as shown here. Now, of course, this isn't to say that the other root causes won't be examined or addressed, as they very well may be. But, to get things started, the team will begin to focus on these 4 root causes. Now, one last piece of advice with N/3. Depending on how many root causes you're starting with, you may need to do several rounds of N/3 before you arrive at a manageable list. Alright, well, the last step of the fishbone creation process is to draw a cloud or Kaizen burst symbol around the root causes the team has selected to initially focus on, keeping in mind that the fishbone process is dynamic in nature, meaning we'll definitely come back to update things as the team learns more and more and begins to attack additional problems. And that's how you create a fishbone diagram. As always, if you have any questions, please let us know. Now, in our next module, we're going to dive a bit deeper into the often discussed but rarely explained process of how to conduct a 5 why session. So, we'll speak to you soon.